All right, well, the first series is out of the way, and we're headed into our second best of three tonight for CCL's second week. I'm glad to be here on the Monday. My name is Sikula. I'm joined here by Kinder for our first broadcast. It's great to have the PS4 switchover squad alive on the CCL broadcast.
It's been a long time since the Pleb League days of PS4. But yeah, I'm mostly here in the casting scene because of you, so very grateful for that. Very excited to be doing a joint cast together, and very excited to jump into this game. What are these teams looking like? Because honestly, I have no idea.
I managed to cast one of these two teams last week. We'll go to the rosters and we'll get introduced to who is on either of the two sides. It was ACME that I had a look at in the previous week, and that's mainly because of Arundel, who was actually another switchover. Can you believe it? We've got three in the lobby tonight. Arundel was a comp teammate of mine back on the PS4 days. I did know Gugs as well, but I never got the chance to team with him specifically. You've also got Velix, who had an incredible performance dueling on entry with Refine. They were tearing it up for ACME, and they were a big part of the reason why they claimed victory 2-1 in their initial series game. Shift North roster just seeking representation. Now on the Shift side is Senpai TK, Maple, Zersosa, as well as Devil. That is a very familiar squad of players. I've had a lot of good memories going back on casting them. Zers, I managed to try out for his team once as a coach, and I got a good insight into how he is as a player. Devil is probably one of the most experienced members in this roster, along with Maple, who actually has CL experience going back in Challenger League for 2021.
Fantastic lineup is what it's sounding like to me tonight. Some PlayStation players, some former CL players. We've got an absolute great variety of people all across the board. Very excited to jump in to this game, and I believe we'll first be taking us to the map of Border, newly added back into the comp pool. For those of you that don't know, the comp pool has been extended by 3 brand new maps that have been re-added, and Border is one of them. So we've seen it a couple of times in the pro scene so far, and I think we're just about ready to go ahead and jump on into it for the game.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get another chance to watch Border. Last time I had it, it was in fact the ACME cast during Friday, and boy, it was a weird one. We had quite a number of bugs. We had a bug that looked like there was an alien spaceship landing on the map. Can't say I've ever seen something like that before, but yeah, it was a real shocker. Border was the map that ACME picked up first in series against Shinigami. Eventually, they finished that one out 7-4, and they dispatched Shinigami Decider 8-6 on Clubhouse, which I imagine is probably one of the more shocking games coming into this group, and it's led to a particularly rough spot for Shinigami, who just lost our earlier series game to Agony. They sit down 0-2 so far in groups. They only have a single match remaining in the group stage, and it's to be expected that they might be eliminated after we come out of this. Not really a great spot to be, a 3-game regular season, having already lost your first 2.
That is really putting you down in the dirt. Absolutely. ACME, though, I'm assuming they really want to build off of that. A 3-game regular season means they need to get some points on the board, and they're going to look to do that with a Finka ban. They're attacking first. Very, very surprised to see Finka banned out just because of how versatile she is for so many players. She's become one of the primary entries, kind of dueling as a flex support as well with her adrenal surges, with her frag grenades and her LMG as well. Just an absolute force of nature, busting into sites, taking lives, taking names. To see her gone means this Border, which I've generally heard to be more attacker-sided than it used to be, looking like it's going to be a bit more defender-sided, though without the Mira and without the Valk, those are seriously detrimental operators to lose if you're defending on this map. They could play a very, very large role as this game progresses.
Just because of the way that kind of the map is structured, I think generally it's accepted that the offense, pretty much on every site, maybe except for Bathroom, they can kind of just roll in and let a nuke go off, and things just, they always precipitate for the offense. There is so many difficult spots to play for defenders, because you look at the floor just here for this armory site, pretty much the entire thing, minus the concrete section in archives and the main wall over in lockers, is all soft wooden floors. You've got hatches as well. You can have Amarus flying up, though I haven't seen that one just yet. I wouldn't put it past ACME, who are a roster that generally play a very loose style of siege, given that is kind of my expectation, because they have come from the console days, at least for Gugs and Arundel. And console, I mean, hey, we get to talk about the way that things play out in console siege. It generally does get a little wacky.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very, very interesting. I have not touched console siege besides my own ranked games in quite a while, and I have to say, Not quite as highly ranked as I'm sure a lot of these individuals were, but perhaps that loose kind of console gameplay is already going to show out here. We're seeing a Blitz Mateng push onto this East Stairwell, a Thorn that goes awry, but all the players are repelling up. You've got to fall off of that. A Biff Thorn Razor Bloom right there. That could have been really pivotal at stopping this push. It looks like Maple read the push perfectly. Instead, just going to have to opt to leave that Razor Bloom inside. Meanwhile, Arundel and Gugs already making great work of those shields, pushing onto the door. The ventilator's window is open, and it looks like we're about to get a big push right now. Though ATK below, the smoke canisters. How is this going to play out? The smoke going off, lots of damage being taken. Gugs already falls. Arundel on low health, but he's still getting the diffuser down.
This is the same thing that ACME did on their execute for this site last week, but it's gone terribly so far. The Razor Bloom coupled with the smoke canister forced the Blitz to go deep, and he left without any coverage as he arrived in Africa. He got pinned down by the defensive presence. So far, this attack going pretty much nowhere. Though they've claimed the life of the Thorn, it's only one back, and you've lost pretty much the entire quarterback of what this strategy was meant to be. No successful plant for the Monty, no shield left to try to go that on the back and just get the bomb down simply. Now you've got somebody stepping up on the peak from Africa. The Zofia left in a position where she's really got no ground to gain, and the Lion maintaining this cut.
This line of sight right here proving to be deadly, and Devil's going to prove that even further. He'll grab one, trying to peek the man on the ventilators outside. He's going to fall off. It's a 2 versus 4 right now, and not a lot of hope left for X and Velix. Right now, they're both trapped outside of sight. They're going to have to go for a bit of a split push here if they want to make anything happen, and the defenders look like they're poised for anything. A lot of these soft walls are being used to just open up some insanely long lines of sight, and it's proving very, very difficult for ACME to get anyone near. And yet, as I speak, Velix, it looks like he's pushing up from backstairs, might go for a CTV push, try to pincer around that front, but with his teammate down, he's got an impossible situation. He'll make it a little bit more possible by felling ATK, but right now he might have that big extended mag vector, but he doesn't have a whole lot else left for him in this round.
It's also got somebody coming in on a flank from CCTV. Devil entirely undetected. Shift North, the experience roster in this bout, proving just that with an excellent play over by that archive side. I love the way that that smoke coupled with the Razor Bloom just stopped out, completely separated the entire structure of that attack from ACME. After losing that, you've got a Blitz and a Monty in your composition. There's really nothing to fall back on when you make a strat that's just like that. We have this one condition scenario. When it fails, we don't have anything to go back on. We don't have enough hard breach to get open any of the walls in archives to continue that campaign, and I think just the static positions we saw from those last attackers shows us that. Didn't have the resources to get the job done.
And certainly the defenders read into that situation perfectly. Usually these days, it's the attackers that we see using that attacker repick to really shift the tides of the game more in their favor, to read the defense, see what they're up to, and change accordingly. But that time, we saw the absolute preparation. I mentioned Maple throwing that, trying to get that Razor Bloom out onto the East Stair balcony. It didn't work, but it wound up working the one that was in Africa, not to mention the smoke that was playing beneath with those canisters. He was watching the exact door they were going to push through, so they knew exactly what was coming at them before the round had even started. A great prediction from Shift North, and a very poor adaptation from ACME. They decided to commit to both shield pushes into Africa, and ultimately it was their downfall. But they can look to redo it here, to make it up, to do something a little bit better. They're going to be pushing onto Ventilator Workshop, but they do have this very, very potent looking upstairs roam to deal with.
And on the opposite side, ACME are looking to bring in a Ying who has proved to be one of the most consistent operators in all of their lineups. Having the ability to toss Candelas and blind your subjects against the defense here on border is just a great way to get a lot of quick aggression to move in and not face a tremendous amount of slowdown. The same entry point used in the first round, this time with a little bit more solid foundation, moving behind the attackers here. Lucy should have about immediately. She does skate past and makes it into the safe coverage of those concrete walls. A risky fight early. Shift North. They want to continue. They want to keep up above water and hold back what ACME have got here.
Ooh, and a great trade there. ATK grabbing one. Gugs there at least to get the trade out, but he'll lose a lot of HP in return. This attack, they might have grabbed one defender upstairs, but they have taken an absolute battering. It's going to continue. The player of Malusi, Maple with a great long angle, and here's Zers as well to pick up another one. These lines of sight are just too incredibly powerful right now for the defenders. They will trade it back. That's Belts, but he's the last one left on his team. It's the Sledge. He's got 2 frag grenades. If you want to have anybody left standing, it's this guy, but in a 1 versus 3 and on just breaths of HP, I don't see him doing much in this scenario.
Yeah, Sledge still standing. Might be a bit of a stretch with his little HP as he's on. It's a miracle he can even still fight given these circumstances. Shift North are going to play this smartly. Let's hold back on the site. We've accomplished the goal in a very great fashion for that top floor play. Sledge is left with 90 seconds. Not the worst circumstance, as well those grenades that you mentioned just there. He has the ability to maybe isolate one of these kills if he plays the explosive right. He's still worried about this top floor presence, though. And so he's going to continue to clear out, moseying around on the top floor. Is Shift North wait for the eventuality the Sledge has to come alive and present himself somewhere. But it doesn't seem like that's really going to be the most immediate thing. The Sledge still waits up above. Devil is a bit worried about some CCTV pressure. Perhaps he heard the audio cue. Velix for the drone. Going to maybe just see if any players are left exposed here or solo from Shift North.
You have to wonder how the attackers are going to respond to this just very open defense that's being played. Border has a lot of soft walls on it, and the defenders have been exploiting this a ton. We saw that long angle from the balcony with the Malusi. We saw the lines of sight from main stairs. We saw that beautiful flick from Velx right there. Absolutely great play from him, though. Again, this is just some garbage time kills. I shouldn't write him off completely, though. 30 seconds. But come on, man's in the chat. That Sledge, he's trying to do a little bit of everything with almost nothing left in his pocket right now. He's going to aggress onto site. They've got the line of sight. No, they're looking away. If he swings at just the right moment, he might be able to grab out this mute, and then would all be on the low HP Maple, but he pre-fires, is read out. TK grabs the regular K, and it's another round in the favor of the defenders.
Offensive structure lacking entirely on that top floor. The ability to trade just really wasn't there. And they could never solidly establish a foothold. I mean, they had players still dying. A minute and a half left. The Sledge just... nothing went well for them. ACME need a better strategy when it comes to adapting on the fly. I think their mid-round really is lacking. The Shift North so far, playing some veteran siege, it's worked great for them. The trades on Shift North side are perfect. The positions are really good. And the point that you made about the way that Shift have kind of played this little bit of everywhere style of defense, I think it's the perfect way to approach Border. When you've got a loose team, let's play a loose defense. Let's not bunker up and allow the attackers to just kind of pick and prod and poke at random areas. Let's try to spread out, still work together, still calm, but don't go crazy, don't go, jumping into the arms of the attackers.
And it seems like the droning so far, ACME is loose with a lot of things. It seems like their intel work might be yet another facet in which they're playing a little bit too loosely. I have to wonder how they did not get those drones in position to ping and call out all of those defenders that were up top. I mean, over half the defensive side of Shift North were playing upstairs in a lot of varied positions. Now, we did see that Aruni rotate at the beginning of the round. They were very sneaky with how they got into their positions, but regardless, you could at least find a couple of them on drones. Drone your teammates in. Don't just all push in at the same time and completely get collapsed upon by the defense. Oh, speaking of getting collapsed upon, Devil with the run out. Oh my gosh. When you've got a team down bad, you just pour some salt in the room with a little run out, maybe a peek over the little security room wall right here. Such a cheeky angle, and it looks like the player of Devil might just grab another pickup for his troubles.
Well, it was Devil last round who was complaining about the Sledge being alive for way too long there at the end. It's a complete opposite side this time around. The Sledge's first tonight didn't even barely make it to the outskirts of the building before he was the one to go. And ACME already working from a point of disadvantage. Shift North playing a little bit more from that loose mindset, working well for them on the initial pick, but now ACME need to find the response. So far, it looks like they might go for an armory clear or perhaps establish some pressure both horizontally through customs as well for Gugs up in CCTV. Have a couple confrontations about to emerge, and there is the first for this Pulse in his defense of customs. Now the IQ could have tried to crouch walk down on him. If Shift North had played this right, though, they should easily have the cutoff from this Valkyrie, who tosses out a C4, that was the Cade. I'm not sure what that explosive was meant to do, but it didn't accomplish any of its goals. So for the IQ, she's the one now on the hunt.
She's got that beautiful LMG in her hands. That can net her a lot of kills, but she's got to use the rest of her utility as well. There's a Pulse on the hunt here, and she's not even using her gadget to find him, but she won't be able to anymore. Gugs with a pickup, and AUG, which is probably better than that IQ's AUG that she could have brought, but regardless, the Kaid of Maple gets that kill. Once again, ACME just completely falling apart at the seams, not having intel on these defenders, on these roamers. They barely even approach the site in any capacity, and they've already lost over half of their team, and they still have the rest of this defensive roster to deal with. Hibana and Ash. Two players, not necessarily the best. They do have that soft and hard destruction to make some waves onto the site, but again, they've barely made any progress, even in that regard, of getting the site open in any capacity. And because of that, they're going to be stalled out here and have to push through these roamers and be slowly collapsed upon to end off this round.
Still a calm defensive Ocean. Here's a fight. The pull steps out. Gets another, stacking bodies for the FBI operator. Finally, he will perish. It's Arendel's first kill of the game. Can he make it a second? Looks like a difficult prospect with so many defender guns looking down here. DBN, oh, but he can't confirm it. Maple again will defend his teammate. The alibi steps out. The assist king, the one really helping out the roster there. And boy, oh boy, a wandering attack from ACME. 0-3 for them.
Have to give some major props to Arendelle there on that kill with the Type 21 coming from console to PC. I know it's very different going from joysticks to a mouse and keyboard, so great little flick there, but unfortunately for him, not enough to, as you put it, save his team from a very lackluster kind of attack so far. We've seen not just a poor use of intel and drone, but also a poor use of their own utilities. I mean, we had an IQ that round, and Shift North handed them a Pulse. Pulse is the easiest operator. For those of you that do not know, IQ's gadget tracking ability can see actually farther away than Pulse's cardiac sensor can see. So you can see that Pulse from basically miles away. It's actually more like 20 meters, but miles away. Didn't use that at all to try to find him, and as a result, had that early pick onto Keratic that came out instead. So just a poor use of utility and a poor use of their intel work and trying to clear out this roam, and it's just slowly, actually very quickly stacking up against them in what's turned into a 3-0 already.
Yeah, I suppose as the Pulse player, it does feel like the IQ can see you from miles away when you get shot by her because of that gadget. But for ACME, I wouldn't even say a poor use of drones. I would say a lack of drones, pretty much altogether. That IQ, as I said, wandered into Workshop. She just walked in, crouched walked in, which can be sort of used as a statement in itself to describe the playstyle of ACME. But Devil, his second attempt at an opening pick via spawn kill, doesn't go so hot, and it gives ACME maybe a situation that's a little more approachable unless somebody from Shift North steps up in the response.
I could be completely wrong in this, but that might have been the first opening pick that's gone the way of ACME. That's exactly what they need to bounce back here and try to turn this into a potentially split half. They do now have most CC control. They have to watch ATK. They've got the rotate from 90 right here. An interesting setup, especially with the Syria gate. I did not even know that there was a doorway there. So a very great cutoff. And he can just use this. Oh my goodness. Watch this rotate right here. All the way onto these back stair balconies, onto these east stairs right here. A great rotate from the vigil of ATK. And if these drones can't find him, can't see those white bars, they might not be able to shut him down at all. That's an insane cross angle that he's got there. Could completely end this attack inside of CTV if they give him the opportunity.
Last round, it was a focus on archives. This time, over to the west for an armory execute, which looks to be in the works. Maple is playing below for customs. Perhaps he anticipates somebody coming down for the vert. I would imagine that's probably because you've got maybe somebody... I'm honestly kind of lost for why you would play down there, but maybe he's just sort of waiting for an opportunity to hide out and not be drone. That's not really been the game plan for ACME so far. But with this attack still on the cards, it looks like maybe the offense needs something to give him a bit more of an advantage. Zer's caught major damage there, but the Tachanka still able to put out more of his Shumika fire grenades.
The Tachanka and the Smoke both proving to be a very, very powerful duo. Zion, though, will grab ATK. The kills keep flooding for ACME, even if the utility is against them right now. That's a lot of stalling right now that the defense has, even more so when you lose your Twitch of Zion. No more drones, no more FAMAS either. No more extra man to help with this. That's cap, said ATK. Indeed it is, though. Arendelle, not cap for him, as he's going to get the plant down. A failed jump out from Maple will be shut down. Smoke canister goes out. Can Arendelle get it down in time? He's going to fed it down just at the very last second. The smoke canister still going off, but TK in a very, very unfortunate situation right now. The attackers wisely going to back off. Don't want to throw away this first round that they've had, and they'll go ahead and grab it, though. Keratic on the rotate up main stairs. A great first round win for ACME. They're looking to turn the tides right here.
Finally, the one white sheep among the attacks so far for ACME, which have looked to be completely right or wrong. The offense, a little more simple there, kind of straight to the point. Let's go for that plant. Let's try to get in. Though the first time around, Shift North were great when they shut down the Archives take. They managed to stop any thought of a possible plant. That time, on what I would say is probably the more simple to deny plant, especially with defender presence below, it doesn't work out for them. They knew what that was going to be. You don't see multiple attackers spraying you down with an open armory wall and not expect eventually they're going to consider an objective play. But ACME winning out. They succeeded in all the battles they needed to take. And Shift North, the one kind of pockmark on their radar so far. We're going to go down to Vents Workshop. This one worked out in round number 2, and it was a bit of a devastating one for ACME, marking their second loss in this game because they simply could not coordinate their push to clear out the top floor roam.
The top floor roam is exactly what I was going to mention. Just completely devastating, as you said, the last time that ACME tried to push. The long angles were established. The drone intel was almost non-existent. Players were just left and right firing through open walls and eliminating them completely. We are watching poor Maple right now, though, struggle to place this Kite Electro Claw in a very unique position that I will definitely use and fail at utilizing properly in a ranked match. But that's kind of beside the point. We can see how that Kite Electro Claw could be used upstairs to help electrify those back bathroom walls in a very unique position that the attackers, especially now that they no longer have that IQ, would be very difficult for them to find. But since it didn't go down, probably not the most relevant thing to focus on. Instead, let's focus on this immediate collapse that we can see is about to occur right now around this this east side of the stairwell.
I like this. It's a little different from what you had last time, and the mute below playing for the possibility of that C4 will take a bit of a beating, but the damage is quite more severe onto Zerz. However, traded, Karatik quickly steps in from Passport, and he does away with the Mozzie. TK no longer fearing possible pressure from out on that bathroom window, even though he still should. There is a player out there, will return to holding in from the bathroom. But in reality, this matchup here probably a little bit more favored towards the defense. I would say that, though, as Arundel shuts down the explosive move, and Karatik, wow, check out the reaction time on behalf of the Cade as he continues to make this a possible situation. ACME holding out in the advantage, though.
Yeah, the attackers, like you said, still do have the advantage. Zion's going to go ahead and drop into that east open area right there. This Kaid's got a couple of angles to watch, though, inside of Customs. He's just going to sort of back off slowly or maybe reaggress and completely prove me wrong. We have to remember, though, the Thermite still has 2 exothermics in his pocket that he can use to try to bust open these walls right here. I'm not sure if the Electro Claw was able to go out properly to get those bathroom walls electrified. And certainly the defenders, though, they're going to find some very, very nice kills here. It's all on Velx. Once again, he's almost always the last man left standing. That sledgehammer can give him some verticality, but it's not going to matter much now when he's the only one there to pick up the kills. 2 versus 1 situation. He's got 2 frag grenades. It's not impossible for him to do. He does still have quite a bit of time on the board, even if he can't use that Thermite to get back into the site. We see that the bathroom rotate is actually already open, so he could slip in back there if he can evade their sights long enough and get those kills.
I think the problem was last time it wasn't anything to do with gun skill for the sledge. It was just the amount of time that he spent. Devil closely watching that rotate with a tall angle from the Cade as well. A grenade to create a sightline, it looks like, for Velix. Instead, he opts to do it with the sledgehammer. That's a decision I would agree with. Looking for a possible rotate down towards side of Metal. Shift North linking up with 35 to go. No explosives for them. Velix could use his frags to deny a possible rotation. But really right now, it's the game of even getting into this objective with the angle from Maple isolating and pretty much removing the chance that he is going to be able to make it through this bathroom door. The C4 goes deep, but it doesn't do any damage to Devil. And he stays in the fight for the Goyo to eventuate out that final kill. Velix, nil for 2 in the clutch situation. Shift North, a great 2-on-3 pressure there.
ACME did a great job of trying to get into sight. They had the man count advantage, but as it waned into the dying seconds of the round, they just completely fell apart at the seams, and you saw how this is the most standard caster call to make ever. But in almost every game that I've casted, someone has always said, Siege is ultimately a first-person shooter. It always comes down to, regardless of strategy, regardless of game sense and knowledge, it always comes down to who can get the kill. We saw, I'd like to go back to Karatik Zofia. He had the customs wall open. That would be a great pincer point from inside of Passport to kind of slowly converge onto Workshop and Customs, or onto Workshop and Ventilator, but he just simply wasn't able to do it because the Kaid had the swing there, and his line of sight against an AUG that's not really a very great ranged weapon. It's very mid-tier, and the Kaid still won that out. So gun skill, also incredibly huge, just another area in which I believe that ACME is kind of lacking right now.
Yeah, I mean, that Cade just came roaring around the corner, and the Zofia sort of got ego checked there with that level of play from the Cade. For ACME, yeah, the lack of split pressure, I think, has probably been most suffocating for them so far. They haven't really been able to set up much of an execute, aside from the one time they tried to ram in from Archives. And the other side, when they did succeed in the Armory execute, final sight in the rotation, we're back to the bathroom. And this one, it wasn't the worst for Shift North. It certainly wasn't the best either. And I think they will be able to close it out. It'll just honestly be up to ACME, who need to better utilize their drones. They need to work off the back of intel. No more wandering. No more random battles being taken across the map. All right, let's see some trades. Let's see some ability to call out and help your teammates.
We're already seeing this drone work somewhat wonders. They're able to spot out some traps as well with the use of Zion's IQ scanner. So that's really great considering that there is a Kapkan on the board as well as some of these Alibi Prismas and these Malusi Banshees. You can see those ahead of time and hopefully call them out because otherwise those could spell immediate doom for the attackers. But right now, Zion, he's pincered in a bit of a gunfight all the way back in CTV. He's got his teammates, though, to help him. Gugs chucking a frag grenade in. I don't know if he was trying to thread. That hole was made by the frag grenade. Not sure. I guess they thought there was a player in the back of Archives. Two actually completely missed, so some poor intel there. But Karatik doesn't need intel, apparently. He just needs to find that kill onto ATK. The captain will go down, but let's remember his traps will survive post-mortem. The attackers need to find those out before they let themselves die to him.
Wow, Devil still trying to continue this pressure. Karatik for 2, and it looks like a third will eventuate here with the castle DBNO, and this top floor roam completely done over with. Still have a player down out on the balcony, but that should be an easy one to claim back, get that player into the fight once more. Last time Shift North cleaned up a 2 versus 3, this situation a little bit different. You've got full intel capabilities. You've got the ability to go ahead and hard breach open a wall, punch into the site and put the pressure on. And right now the Malusi is about to face an overwhelming wave from the attackers as you've got multiple LMGs and simply not a lot of ammunition to hold back what is a large number of foes you're about to face. This flank could work though.
The attackers certainly a lot of ammunition and a lot of utility. Still 2 frag grenades in the Sledge's pocket. No longer any bullets in that LMG. Zers, the flank that you called out, and another great one from TK. The attackers slowly letting this fall, but the main door gets open. TK quick on the rotate, but Gug's even quicker onto Zers's head. It's all on TK now. Still a lot of utility in the pockets of the attackers. No matter how many captain traps they run through, the plant is going down. TK's got a lot to do right now with not a lot of time, not a lot of bullets, and way too many men to find.
Ooh, look at the angle from Velix there. A little passive prone peek from the floor of the ventilation room. We'll close out that attack. For a moment there, I was a believer that Shift North might make it back there when they got the first 2. However, the impact on that metal stairs flank wasn't enough. And again, the attackers settled down. They reset. They realized we need to isolate these 2. And they were frankly isolated due to their own motives, with ACME trying 2 separate flank plays. Armory lockers we go. And ACME did clean up that final round, so they'll find success at least on Armory and on that last try for the bathroom. 2-4 the margin. Not great for your attack, as we talked about earlier. It's generally the defense who kind of has to tuck tail and run on this map for ACME to be their own selection. Let's see if they've got some defensive strats to back their second half up.
I would say that perhaps the Finka ban is playing into ACME's failure, but I think that's wrong, firstly, because ACME banned Finka, so if it did hurt their attacking side, then it's their own fault. But secondly, because most of the reason they lost those rounds, like we talked about, lack of drone usage, lack of just utility usage. You know, we saw that last round when they were clearing out those roamers. They were using grenades and breaching charges and the IQ, maybe the IQ scanner. We didn't exactly see. We saw a lot more drone work at the very least being used to clear out these defenders. And it was just night and day, the difference between that attack and their other attacks onto those upstairs roams before. So a really great adaptation from ACME. But as we said, they're on the defense now. Maybe they can turn the tides in their favor without Finka in play. Maybe this is where they'll really shine on Border.
I would hope so, because if they don't, things are going to get a little sour quickly. Osa in play from Senpai, an operator who has seen a pretty sharp rise in popularity on this map. When you've got Osa, when you've got those Talon shields, it gives you so much extra cover, which can just be a fantastic thing for this simple B-site execute to try to put the pressure on from the balcony. But Velik strikes first with that so-called worst gun in the game. It's against your Zofia. The SMG triumphs over the LMG there, and Maple looking to put grenade pressure in. It's Devil who strikes in the secondary, though, as Zion is down.
A great start so far for ACME. Taking a trade, I'll take that any day of the week on defense. You lost your mute, that's a potential C4, but you still have your smoke alive. You still have a C4 on the Kaid. And otherwise, 2 pretty solid gunners. Oh, the biffed angle there. ATK spraying back at Karatik right now. They're not able to hit the broadside of a barn in either direction. Meanwhile, Devil going for this Maverick trick right here, trying to get the wall open. He doesn't have any hard breach. He's going to have to get the wall perfectly melted and then sledge it open, which could be dangerous with these smoke canisters coming out. Great timing from Arundel. He's trying to stall out this attack as much as possible to keep a couple smoke canisters in his pocket for this inevitable plant right here inside of these opening armory walls.
Well, certainly let's hope they can play for that late game explosive ability for Guggs. He really needs to stay alive here and play this one smart because he could make or break the round with how Shift North come in and approach this. Still have one player, it looks like even two, considering maybe CCTV or even pressure from below. TK shuts down the attempt of the Malusi. Still have that explosive left, and as the time slowly clicks down here, the offense are going to have to worry increasingly about the 20 seconds of denial that the smoke is going to add here. But Velik continues his tally. Down goes the Iana. Won't have that late game intel. Looks like a rotation being considered.
The Maverick right here trying to take out that Malusi Banshee and swing onto the player he knows is in Fountain, but Guggs, he's going to play it very, very safe. Back off behind this short wall inside of Office now, and Devil trying to swing onto him. Like you said, not a whole lot of time left, and the dwindling man count and only single grenade left do not spell out a lot of great success right now for Shift North right now. ACME doing a great job of holding still 2 smoke canisters and a C4 in their pocket, and it looks like Archives might be the site of choice for these attackers and trying to get the plant down. TK's actually right up against the wall, and Devil, he doesn't seem to realize the player's in the back. He'll be swung, the frag grenade goes awry, and Guggs will, in fact, get the swing. TK holding the cross right now, but their player's pressuring him from behind as well. He knows that he's got too many angles to have to watch right now. Push comes to shove. TK grabs one, but he can't grab the second. Guggs with a great play inside of Office right now. A huge double for him, and a great round coming out from ACME on their first defense.
I mentioned during pregame, Velix as well as Guggs, 2 players who stand up as pillars of this roster for ACME, and they will prove to do that once more here in CCL on the first round of the second half. For ACME, now they cut the deficit to just 1, and Shift North's 4-2 attack, not looking like the hugest thing in the world. Mira and Valkyrie are still banned, though. Not going to be easy sailing on this ACME defense quite just yet. Still need to prove a couple things wrong. Still need to show up against a Shift North who have proved to be the better coordinating squad so far. And for that last round, I like the call for Shift North to attempt the rotate. To me, it looked like Archives was pretty soft. All the defender utility had been rotated over to stop that monster attack that was planned for the Armory wall. However, Shift North failed to execute. Maybe with that radio player, that engagement going another way, maybe that grenade does hit. That could have been realistically possible for Shift North. Unfortunately, not the way the circumstances panned out in the server.
Absolutely not. Shift North, they did take the loss there. ACME are clawing this one back up a bit closer, but as we mentioned earlier, most of Borders generally attacker-sided except really for that top defensive site. Armory Lockers, or Armory Archives, really the by far best site in this map for the defenders, at least 9 times out of 10, I personally would say. So now we're going downstairs. Downstairs, not only a bit more difficult to roam, but also more difficult to hold as an anchor. You have to have people above because otherwise you're going to have a fuse, you're going to have a buck, a sledge, and frag grenades just completely raining down on you from the open ceiling and hatches. And you see that they've got that set up as well as the Jackal to help prevent a potential roam. And Shift North trying to prepare for the roam that they used against ACME. Senpai, though, he's going to land a couple of shots onto Karatik. It's a pretty even trade, actually, in terms of health. Karatik will rotate back upstairs. They know that he's up there, though. They can get this Jackal in position in time. They just might be able to sniff out his little feet and find him and shut him down.
That would be the plan. Karatik, oh no. May have just misdroned him, looking to see if it turns around. It doesn't. Karatik possibly undetected yet. Don't want to call it too early. Oh, there's a Z-ping. They know about the position of the Malusi. Arendelle, this is back the one who dies on the opening casualty, and Maple stacks in a second. Shift North looking lethal here in round number 8. Zurus has got one on as well. ACME can't do anything successful so far. This one quickly spelling out a Shift North victory.
Frag grenade going out as well. Not sure why he didn't use the sledgehammer. Maybe there's something going on there that I don't quite know. Regardless, holes in the ground are being opened, perhaps trying to bait out C4s. There aren't really any left on the side of the defense. Shift North still playing this somewhat cautiously. They don't want to get into engagements that they can't win and throw away a 2 versus 5 lead. But already, we've seen them do exactly what ACME failed at in so many rounds, which was learn how to shut down the roam upstairs. They did it perfectly, had players in cross angles, had the drone intel. Even when they missed players, they still had extra drones on backup to Yellow Ping. And now Devil can go ahead and go for this plant almost rent-free. Guggs going to try to swing here. He'll actually grab him. There's no cover from above, surprisingly. Diffuser has now been surrendered inside of ventilators, and some of this isn't quite unwinnable. Velix will grab yet another, a 2 versus 3 right now, and ACME are clawing back for this victory.
Well, you talked about playing it safe and not wanting to give it away. Shift North, despite their attempts to play calm, that might still be on the menu. Gug's playing quite fluid throughout the objective, wants to keep away from those vertical angles, but they're going to continue to be opened here by TK. Maple's monitoring the angle to cut through the middle of the site, and Zers has recovered the bomb, but Gugs has one onto Maple. It's only the coverage player of the sledge left, but Gugs makes it through the rotate. However, shot from on high, TK stops it dead in its tracks. Velix has found himself in the most clutches out of any player so far, and hasn't had any notable victories yet. Still worries about the sledge up above. 35 seconds isn't the worst spot, especially if the sledge is in an intel dispute. However, the air jab is going to knock over Velix, and as he tries to walk back, look at how passive the sledge is playing. He's already rotated off the top floor. There's really no chance for the Aruni left unless she's going to go ahead and hawk that bulletproof camera and try to knock out her opponent. Leaping over the balcony, TK. Velix doesn't commit to it there. I think if he may have had, that could have been a possibility there. This round is over, though.
Absolutely, the sledge back inside less than 7 seconds now. There is absolutely nothing that ACME can do. A noble attempt from Velix right there. Like a fiddle, Devil says, absolutely got completely played. You saw the Aruni make the rotate upstairs. A great read, knowing she has to flush out that vertical player if she wants any chance of winning. But of course, not only was there the air jab on the main stairs to give away her position, there's of course the brutal, awful metal detectors right as you enter Armory. A terrible blaring sound goes out. Sledge goes, hey, she's top stairs. I'll just rotate downstairs, watch from outside with the safety of my frag grenade to help keep her at bay. And sure enough, it worked. And just as was said in chat by Devil, that poor Rooney got played like a fiddle.
Well, I was sort of being sarcastic when I said this, but I'm hoping that ACME will actually place that bulletproof camera this time. Otherwise, I don't really much see the point in bringing one. Velix held onto it for the entirety of the last round. I don't know, maybe he was gonna put it in his lunchbox, save it for later. I mean, there's a lot of things you could draw there. But Shift North sort of readying themselves. That was just such a beautiful clear on the top floor, and I almost wonder if going back to this site is the right call with how pitiful their extension was up above. However, I'll sort of be the devil's advocate to my own point here. The top floor vertical pressure is pretty much how you win the defense here on Border. If you can't effectively roam or stop the attackers from seeking this control up above, you might as well not play the map at all.
Yeah, and these 3 Captain traps on this single door right here certainly are not going to help. Captain now, for those of you that don't know, can place multiple traps on single doors. So actually, it only takes 2 to kill. I've seen many people place 3. I'm not sure if that's just to lure people into a false sense of security by destroying 1. Perhaps there's a strategy I don't quite know about, but regardless, that door is more than enough to kill a man, maybe do an even bigger explosion that could damage even more attackers on the top floor. So that will definitely be a choke point for the defenders to try to play around. But already we're seeing a push come out from detention center. The wall has been opened, and the attackers, the rest of them are flooding upstairs. It was a bit of a ruse downstairs, it seems like. Throw off the customs player, make him think twice, and isolate a bit more of these upstairs players, including Zion on the Tachanka with the SMG of all things. Very surprising play there. We'll see if he's able to utilize that to any good effect.
We did see the Tachanka played at least once earlier. It was actually in the context of an Armory defense, so sort of a similar spot here, except the site isn't purely just Armory. However, it's still an important objective that you'll need to gain. Oh, what is the Catcan doing? Just standing up in open view, and he defeats the Ash. That is quite the play there by Gugs. A flashbang in. This is hoping that it'll defeat the extension, and Devil looking to seize on that one, the bearing 9 for 1, but Arundel, in comes the trade. Still holding up on above, and the sledge down. That's a huge pickup for ACME. The shotgun Arundel running out of distance in the pincer from the Nomad as she comes in through peepers.
A great pincer there from the defenders. They've managed to whittle this down to a 3 versus 2. They had to take out several trades in return, including the Capian with a potential, and the Mute, both with potential C4s, but Zion was able to escape with all those flaming grenades left in his barrel. So a really great trade, all things considered. ACME had all of them positioned perfectly to be able to fire off of each other. So even if they lost one member, there would be another one to refrag. Great positioning from ACME, and a great defensive start for them so far. A minute left now for this Nomad and the Jackal. No hard breach, not really much soft breach either, but the Nomad doesn't need that. She just needs the ARX and the head of Keratic, which will be blown off quite shortly after. Jumping in now through tellers. They know there's probably a bathroom rotate. If they can get safely inside by swinging through this door, it's going to be a choke point, but they do have the Jackal ping. Great use of Zer's ability right now, and Velix could prove to be a thorn. He's 10 and 6 right now, but barely escapes death. Maple with a perfect read right there, and a very, very close call for Velix.
Yeah, he'll have to live out the last 30 of this round on terribly low HP. Still have flashbangs left in pocket for Maple. Could try to put those into the fight somewhere. Zion now, he gets in on the damage club as he suffers a little blow. Shift North trying to do this last attack east to west. See if they may be able to just get in through Workshop. Zerz spots to Tachanka. An easy pincer move for him. Velik's already mentioned on terribly low HP, but a plant will be needed in order to complete this round. And if he's got the audio cue, it'll all be about shutting down Maples. He won't make it. A body shot puts them out of the round. The offense have got 2 in a row.
And it's a callback to one of the earlier rounds in which Shift North had the man count advantage, more or less, and they fell back. They played a bit more conservatively. You know, they didn't extend themselves. They didn't overextend. They knew what they were doing. They fell back, held the cross angles with each other. They didn't try to roam too far. And that's exactly what ACME did wrong there. In a very similar situation, they basically threw away a 3 versus 2, sending members into single engagements by themselves with nobody there to help them. And they just get shut down completely before they decide to fall back to site. Also, the Tachanka not using any of his utility there. I guess at that point, it was mostly a gunfight through the soft walls, but you could have started just flamethrowering basically that entire east side of Workshop, and perhaps you could have held off the attackers, fallen back a bit, and given yourself some safety. Instead, they opted to try to take the engagements, and right now for Zion, that was not the best decision. 1 and 9. He's really struggling right now. So is ACME now. We're on match point.
Things have not really panned out, have not gone well, maybe to plan as much as they thought this one was going to be. I actually did receive a pre-game message from Arundel. He told me to watch out for their border, that it was going to be a fun one. But so far, the fun has been entirely on the Shift North side, and an early detonation of a Vulcan canister. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe it got shot while he was open to rotate. That would be my intuition. But it's one Vulcan. You've got 3 more, so hopefully it's not going to make you lose this round. That would be a little bit of an exasperation.
Yeah, the Goyo changed in the most recent update. Something of a nerf and something of a buff, I would say. He loses those shields, which can be so pivotal, especially on maps like Chalet, but I'm sure here, where there's so many choke points, hallways, angles that you can hold, and especially being able to hold that Vector as well, a very, very nice gun for that Goyo to hold. But instead, his shields have become canisters, but in exchange for losing those shields and just getting canisters, the canisters can be placed on any surface, and there are 4 of them. So like you said, they lose 1, but what's that really when you've got 3 others that you can use, C4s, bullets, whatever to detonate them? That could be incredibly powerful here, especially with this plant. Looks like coming out, that frag grenade, though, will take down the Goyo canister early, but Gugs doesn't need it. He just needs his gun. He'll find the first onto Maple. That Osa goes down. That plant protection, actually, that Osa really provides well goes down, and that's a lot easier of a job for the defenders right now to be able to hold off this attacking onslaught.
Gugs has been riding high so far. He's really been an entry leader this game, and he is going to take an aggressive move. Zion, he'll get 1. Looked like he just ran out, somehow found the angle. Gugs has a second. ACME, a more serious advantage than even in the previous round. Gugs is down. Oh, nearly made it a second there for Devil. However, the double kill does not come through in the server, and it leaves Zerz 1v4 with a lot of time and a lot of still utility stacked up against him. Things were going really well for Shift North until they battled against Gugs, who has pretty much just been on a massacre so far this game. And finally, Shift North with just Zerz left.
Yeah, not a lot that he can do, especially as these aforementioned metal detectors right here and these soft walls. It looks like ACME finally taking a strategy from the Shift North book with these soft walls, getting those lines of sight, and Karatik taking another one and finishing off the round, making it a 6-4. A great round from ACME right there. We saw really not only how their kill leaders were able to increase their numbers, but how they were able to play around each other, give each other good call-outs. They got that opening pick, which statistically I think ACME have almost won every single round they've gotten the opening pick on, if not every single round. So that's just been a huge confidence boost. They've really proved in that last round that they can be a really competent, coordinated team. They're not losing this game terribly after all, but they've got to keep that up for at least 2 more rounds if they want to extend this to overtime and have any shot of winning this first map.
Well, we went back and forth between Armory and Vents for the first 4 rounds of our second split. Finally, we go to another site after the ACME game was up for those other 2 objectives. It's Bathroom, as you can see here. You mentioned a point earlier about Armory lockers. I'm going to say, in my opinion at least, I think Bathroom is probably, from a default perspective, the most defensible site, just from the way that you've got a lot of safety in the bathroom area. It's one of the few areas that almost holistically is just safe from vertical. You look at Armory, if you got the right team, they can just go buck you from below. Surprising, we haven't had any teams even attempt that thought so far, but for the bathroom site, it's purely not an option. What is an option, and what is pretty much a necessity, is to hold above. As I mentioned earlier, Border is a lot of vertical games. It's kind of the way that you win. If you can hold up above, especially with Cade in play, because you can't really get open that hatch. When you got a hard floor, how are you going to get the claw? Driving a Twitch drone? You haven't brought one.
Not only is the Kaid in play, we also have Frost. Arendelle debuting the Frost, a pretty standard one on this window, but it's important to note that even if the Frost mat does not get a kill, even if the attackers know about the Frost mat, it is still a huge detriment to their success, because they have to jump in and look down to shoot the Frost mat if they're not able to take it out with utility usage. So just by looking down and diverting their attention, even for a split second to shoot that welcome mat, that can be the difference between life or death, as the cross angle can be established and the defenders can just absolutely shut them down. So those Frost mats could prove incredibly deadly, especially even just being on that very default window. But otherwise, we did see a bit of an upstairs roam. They've since mostly fallen off, it looks like, ceded that to Sledge, who they were not able to kill. I'm sure they would have loved to have gotten that opening pick onto the man of TK, because that sledgehammer, even if there's not a lot of verticality over the main objective, he can get a lot of verticality over the map and cut off those rotating roamers.
Abandoning the top floor after even the first contact is not really my favorite decision in the world, because you see what it does to Shift North. They feel so comfortable. They've got everything locked down with their Nomad, despite the fact they haven't yet deployed any air jabs. As I say that, though, Maples will finally at least consider the fact that he could go ahead and present anybody rotating back on top of them. ACME, understand, we can't really play in a lot of the vulnerable areas. Let's try to find some that are a little bit more safe, or maybe even just a little bit more unpredictable. The end game, though, for this attack is going to be getting into archives, or excuse me, tellers, and simply putting the bomb down, trying to get your objective. That way you can't stop it. And if you look at ACME, they don't have any explosives, really, that would be meaningful in a plant situation.
Absolutely not. They would be completely cut off. I was going to say this site is so defensible because it's so close together, but regardless of how close the bomb sites are to each other, if you don't have these cross angles, which Gugs does, he proves me completely wrong. I will eat my crow, sir. A great angle from Customs, and he's able, from the top of those metal detectors, to take one down. It looks like Zion, though, will be quick to fall, and Devil, he's managed to sneak in through this Hibana hole, but a frag grenade that's gone awry. Maybe I couldn't tell exactly what that was. He had to rotate off. The Frost swings and misses, though. Devil with an amazing last-second headshot. He's going to continue to put it down. Oh, and the Maestro on the rotate back. He's cuffed. It's all on Gugs. He got the incredible kill earlier. He'll grab one, but not two. Shift North have just taken the first map.
What a throw there. Arendelle had the play to save it all, but he missed the shotgun. The decision to go away from the SMG ultimately failing him there and allowing Shift North to get in amongst the chaos. A difficult loss. They make it to the last round before the end of regulation, but unfortunately failed to close it out there. A tough time in the first half, I think, sort of, kind of set them up to fail almost in some ways. And they lost their map pick. Now they stare down their opponent's selection. Border was that chaotic map that I thought ACME were going to be so good on. Now they go into something with a little more structure. I just feel like it's going to be so much worse.
Absolutely. If Border was their kind of dark horse pick club, which you said structure, I mean, this is one of the most played maps in the entire game of Siege. Everyone knows it like at the back of their hand, like their grandma's house from when they were little. Everybody knows how to play Clubhouse, long story short. So going here against a team that just beat you on your like dark horse kind of secretive map, spelling a lot of doom right now, but let's not count ACME out completely. They put up a good showing in a lot of those rounds, even if some of their wins were a little bit close at the end of the day. I think they've got it in them. They proved that they can be coordinated. They've just got to learn how to play together, play off of each other's utility, and be a bit more diligent and coordinated about getting inside the building, and especially in clearing the roam.
Well, I mentioned the point earlier, with only 3 regular season games, you want to get as many victories as possible. And on the other side of this break, we'll find out if one team goes 2-0 and fights on the decider, or if another is going to end the series 0-2. Well, we're getting ready for Clubhouse, the second map in this series. It was kind of a disappointment earlier on Border, with ACME failing to clinch their own map pick. And I mentioned before we threw to the break, we've got that idea. You want to get up to 2-0 wins so far. You want to get as many points as possible, because you lose this next map, a regulation defeat, not even getting into overtime on any of these maps, it does not reflect well on your record. And to be honest, it puts a lot more pressure on your third regular season game, which might be too much for ACME.
Absolutely. ACME right now going to be very, very hungry to get this next map win, actually, on Clubhouse, as we talked about earlier, being just a very, very structured map. A lot of hard walls. I'm willing to bet we're going to see a lot of, you got to bring double breachers on the attack. So a lot of Thermite, a lot of Hibana, a lot of Ace, Thatcher if he's in play, Mav if he's in play. There are a lot of great attacker bands that can come out on this map that really influence, because this map is so regulated. Everybody knows how to play it really well. Just kind of take point A, go point B. I really think these map bans could decide not who's going to win, but really how the game is going to play out to a serious, serious extent. So very, very excited to jump into these map bans, or these character bans.
Yeah, and I wonder as well for Finka. We had Finka earlier, which I was gonna say, you said it was weird. I agree. It is. It's kind of a little bit off the mark. However, ACME did ban Finka when they played their earlier Border on their day number 1 of CCL. So I guess they just don't like Finka on Border. And what can I say? She's a great attacker with a crazy ability and just an unbeatable gun, almost, it feels like sometimes. You take those 3 factors and you just bam, bam, you whack them in on Border. It's like Hell in a Cell practically.
Hell in a Cell is just a phenomenal way to describe it. Speaking of which, we might get just the same on Clubhouse. We're throwing over into the map right now. We're going to see what these operator bands turn out to be. One of my favorite things to do when I cast is to try to predict them flawlessly. I'm going to say right here, we see ACME banning first. I think we're going to see Thatcher, Flores, hit me with a Kaid and a Valk. Pretty standard, I think, all around.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. We'll see if you're correct. Oh, no, you're wrong. It's Finka. L, come on. ACME, what? You're gonna ban Finka? They didn't even touch Finka when they banned, when they played Clubhouse versus Shinigami. That one went into overtime, and they had even defenses and attacks. So, interesting. They also banned a mute on the defense.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to do that again. You got the Thatcher, so you're at least... We're 25% here, Kinder. We're almost there.
Shooting for 50 right now. Let's see what this next band comes in. Kaid, there we go. We got the 50%.
Nice.
Give me 3/4 out of the total. I did say Valkyrie, and that's just because her cameras are so versatile. They can see so many things across the map, be deployed in so many areas. We don't see her get to throw them out. I know that used to be a really big strategy on Clubhouse. You could throw that out onto the tree right outside of the main balcony, out into the main lobby. But it's still going to see Jaeger, which is possibly more pivotal. Oh my goodness, you should break this one down absolutely.
Well, Jaeger's got this cool little gadget. It's called the active defense system, and when you throw a grenade at it, the grenade disappears. So that's what Jaeger does. And when you don't have him on Clubhouse, you're going to see a lot more impact from lethal utility. They could be lifelines, they could be grenades, they could be flashes. I mean, flashbang, not really lethal utility. You toss it in and your opponent can't see you, though, and that might be a lethal situation for whoever's on the receiving end of the stun effect. Shift North, though, are the team who actually start out on the attack, so they're going to be the ones who first get to bear witness to what it is to attack without grenades. And Jaeger is not totally foreign in terms of a ban like that. I would be jumping and screaming and hollering if Jaeger was banned and this was a match before Aruni was added, because that's kind of the situation that things have changed. Aruni, not necessarily a catcher operator, but she does in some ways function like one. She stops utility from coming in on doors, and so it's a little bit more kind of strictly one area. You have at least something other than just your Wamai.
A very salient point indeed. We see not only the Wamai come out, but also the Aruni, as you mentioned, and the spawn peak, which goes the way of Zion. Some very early aggression, and speaking of Wamai, he will find that kill quite quickly. But yes, Wamai and Aruni, you really can't... Wamai is great for late-game grenade denial, because those magnets build up over time. The problem is that you have to wait for that time. Jaeger has 3 immediate ADSs to place down, so Wamai is really not as potent until the late game. So having that Aruni as well to kind of provide that extra utility grenade prevention is really great. But the attackers and defenders really just want me to jump into the kill feed. Devil grabs TK. Those are more frag grenades to defense. Or sorry, Gugs was grabbed up by Devil. So the captain, he's got his traps down, doesn't really have to worry about sticking alive for too much longer. He's done his part, got those traps down, and the swing from Karatik though won't be successful. Senpai grabs him. Despite the slow start with the spawn peak, the attackers have taken the advantage.
And now that we've got at least the first part of this initial round out of the way, it does bring me back to ACME versus Shinigami here on Club. ACME were crazy on the defense. They would do pretty much that little, run out from freezer or something incredibly similar to it every single round. They were peaking like crazy. They played with so much authority. Sometimes it led to a situation like this where you do lose a couple of bodies, but Zion is able to step it back and put us in an even situation. And so despite the fact that, yes, you've lost the Habana and yeah, your sledge is gone as well, Shift North still in kind of that back and forth at the moment. And now that you got your Oh My gone, not a lot of pressure in the back of Arsenal. It'll be up to Velix and Arendelle to put the stop to it.
Not only a lot of pressure lost, but also those Wamai magnets, and so far your top gunner, Zion's had a much bigger impact this game than he had much at all in the last one, and now it's all on Velix and Arendelle with the plant going down. Oh, the back arm recovers there from Dirt. They weren't watching. They watched a little bit too late. Senpai's able to grab Velix, but Arendelle trades out Zers. It's both low health situation right now. Senpai's got the diffuser behind the box right now in Arsenal. He's got to try to get it down. He's got a minute left. If he can take out that bulletproof camera, this just might aid and abet him quite a bit more, but the smoke can make the rotate through blue. A lot of different ways this can come about, and especially with these gas canisters to assist, that could make it very difficult. Listening for the plant right now, the smoke doesn't hear it quite in time, but it doesn't matter because Senpai has come off. It's a duel of fates right now. The two players just dancing behind these boxes. Who's going to peak first? It's such an intense battle right now, a battle of wits, a battle of wills. Who wants it more? Arendelle still dancing behind this one box. They can't find each other. They're looking at the exact wrong moment. More smoke canisters coming out, but Senpai through the hole after an agonizingly long battle will win it out. Wow, indeed.
What a thrilling way to finish that first round. Shift North, they come in against the advantage and somehow manage to make it work, and ACME, things were going real strong for them, despite Shift North able to kind of back and forth it. Lacking the coverage on the plant. I think that Dirt player just tried a little bit too much. You deny that plant, you get the bomb down in a really rough spot there. You don't want to betray your smoke player by giving away your life. I think you probably tuck tail and run, play from Dirt, play with your teammate, and if you can't, just let Arendelle have as much space as possible, because you realize that Shift North are going to have to make a move eventually. You still had that bulletproof camera up as well. We noticed that because it only got taken out when it was finally in the 1v1. I think playing off the intel probably would have been the better call there, but ACME feel like it was close enough to warrant a retry, and I would agree.
For sure. There's no reason they shouldn't go back here, nor no reason that they shouldn't put the bulletproof camera in the exact same location. Like you said, took them a long time on the attack to find that one. This time, though, we're seeing Mira. I actually don't remember if she was brought last time, but she certainly was not very well utilized if she was indeed brought. And while last time we saw both a Wamai and an Aruni come out to stop the frag grenades, this time there's absolutely nothing in terms of utility burning, especially in terms of grenade or projectile burning. So these frag grenades from the sledge, these Zofia lifelines, they're going to work absolute wonders on the defense. So the defense are going to have to get very aggressive and take out these fragging characters as early as possible. So it looks like Velix right now, he's going to fall off that blue windows. Devil's already going to grab garage control. Perhaps he'll try to contest from all the way up in CTV.
So they don't bring Jaeger or Wamai or Aruni, and okay, Felix has got the down. I was going to say, maybe their rotation away from those two operators is sort of them thinking, we didn't really get grenaded last round. Well, that wasn't really to do with the fact that you had Wamai or Aruni. That was because TK was the opening death. He literally was still in spawn when he died. And so, you drop those operators, you might feel the burn a little bit. Zur's anticipating the target, and he does put down the Vigil to give us back over into the 4 versus 4.
Strip is always such an underrated location, I feel like, when it comes to Clubhouse. There are never any objectives over there, so a lot of players just don't utilize it at all. But not only can the defense use it for a lot of great spawn peaks, the attackers can use it for a lot of great cutoff positions right there. If a player's trying to rotate out of games, maybe hiding in bathroom, Strip is a great pressure point to be able to get those defenders out of those locations. We saw the Zofia use it right there to great success. She's just re-evened out the man count. Granted, you take down the Vigil, whose ability is kind of selfish if you think about it, not to quote some of the EUL casters from earlier in today, but it really only serves himself. He got the 1 kill and the stall on the roam. His job is done. Great on the attackers for taking him out, but it's really not the end of the world for the defense. They're still all hunkered down with the rest of their members in sight and about 1:20 left on the clock.
Yeah, as much for Vigil, the gadget is what allows you yourself to provide all of the value. It doesn't help out your other teammates really in any physical way. The hard breach is going to be the next step of the plan for Shift. They do have a player in Moto, it looked like. Somebody ran down there. Meanwhile, Karatik, did he push up? I guess so, as Zurz was clearly maybe not surprised by that move, but took some offense to it, perhaps, to be a little random there for Karatik to go for. Either way, we're 50 seconds to go, and an advantage is present for Shift North.
They've got it all to do right now. They do have the man count advantage, as you mentioned, though not a lot of HP to back it up. Then again, they do have a frag grenade and probably a couple of lifelines left on this Zofia to be able to concuss, stun, impact, or just straight up blow up the members inside of sight. They will have to go for a hatch drop and a blue push, it looks like right now. Their primary ways of entrance. Devil and Maple both down from the hatch. The cross angle's not quite there in time. They will manage to grab one. Now it's a 2 versus 4. Arendelle swinging in. He's going to grab him with a shotgun, but he's going to watch these players from behind as we'll switch back to our player cameras temporarily. But we're back in the action now. Maple taking a lot of damage. I don't know how Arendelle did not quite get the kill there, but he'll finish him off in the rotation hole. 2 versus 2 with less than 7 seconds left. Gugs grabs one. TK swings and grabs the other. Not a lot of time left. He knows that he's in blue, but he can't swing it in time. And ACME win it out by the skin of their teeth.
Yes, literally, the skin of their teeth on both rounds even. Both coming down to a 1v1. Either roster getting in at least a single lick. And wow, there's something about that church objective that just makes it go down to the final second. So with that completed, ACME on the reattempt, I said that it was not out of the realm of possibility. I did not expect to have almost a mirror finish across those two, but going down to that bottom floor objective just breeds chaos in almost any sense. So we'll try over this objective now for Jim. ACME so far avoiding CCTV, and that's a call I really agree with. CCTV, as they played it last week, really was not fantastic, and that was against Shinigami. I would argue Shift North probably are the strongest team in the group.
They've definitely seemed so strong so far today, and perhaps they'll be able to replicate that in this round, though they're going to have a little bit of difficulty, I think. We're seeing the classic Castle Frost Mira strat, which maybe doesn't mean anything to anybody else. I feel like maybe this is a console thing. I know I've seen it in Pro League before a while ago, and I think console just kind of takes old Pro League strategies, at least I know that I do in my ranked games on console, and then use them way after their past expired. So that being said, because Shift North might not be expecting it, you might be able to throw them off here. The frost mats function with these castle doors. The castle doors cut off the rotations, forcing players generally to jump through that hole there in the bathroom. They might put a frost trap there, or just on a lot of these different windows. There's so many windows on the site. We talked on the last map about how potent frost can be, just in forcing players to look down at their feet. I think she'll have a really big impact as this round progresses.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of this strategy. It's the, I would say, most defensible way that you can extend, and Arendelle taking some damage right in the feet. Yeah, that's not really a spot you should try to play because you are so vulnerable. And not only do you lose your Mira, you also lose your other C4 player. Zion is down. Gugs has a trade, and it's against the Ace, one of your harder-hitting attackers. There are still plenty of those who could fill the gap, but it'll be up to ACME in their ability to trade it out. They haven't really played much of a hold below, and this allows Shift North to take pretty much the entire control. The problem with that, now you've got a lot of grenades which are about to be sent up above.
And you can see all these open walls, all these angles that have been set up above, which was clearly meant for a 5-man defense. But now that it's a 4 versus 3, a lot of these holes are going to be working in the opposite direction. Logi is now a liability for the Wamai of Gugs all the way in construction. He's got to watch that angle while listening for the window behind him, watching potential frag grenades from below. These angles and lines decided working against him. The yellow ping coming out. Will that grab him? No, it won't. He gets onto the hard floor, perhaps just in time. Gugs will manage to grab a trade, actually. Instead, it's a 3 versus 3. ACME surviving grenades and certain death and proving that they're not quite out of this round yet. As Devil goes for the swing, he'll grab Karatik though. Very low HP for Devil, but a great swing. He knows the players inside of Logi now, but he's locked out. The only way that he can get into the site right now without taking too much time is to jump through the bathroom. Senpai grabs another one right now. It's all on Gugs. He's got this Logi rotate if he wants to use it, but you know they're going to be watching him like a hawk with that jacuzzi angle. In fact, they're going to push straight in. Senpai will be felled. Devil's planting that diffuser in front of the soft wall. If only he knew he could take him out right now, but Devil, a very sneaky plant. It will go off successfully. We're in a post-plant situation, 1 versus 2. Gugsy just a whisper away from death right now. An MP5K in his pocket, and all to do right now with 34 seconds on this diffuser. He grabs one, the quad, but TK with the trade. A great round from both teams, but Shift North just proving to be the better team that round.
That was a really confident play, one that reaped major rewards for Devil to just come in. He realized my nade player just failed me below. He just jumped in. He just fought his way into the bathroom. He stuck the plant as well. He trusted the cover from his teammate. He trusted, even more jankily, the soft wall that he was planting behind. But ACME, no late vision in the objective, something that we didn't have over on the Arsenal defenses. Both times they had that BPC that was up late into the game. This time around, not having intel was a mistake that cost them the round. If he had downed that player, I almost think it would have been a certainty that ACME could have fallen off and withstood the 1v1 just as they did on the previous round in number 3 that they claimed. So Shift North proving to be a capable attacking team so far, but it is going to be, it looks like, an incredibly close bout.
For sure, and Bar Stage right now is the next battleground, it looks like, for these two teams. And speaking of the lack of intel they had last time, I just think that ACME might be listening to what you're saying quite well, because they brought a Valkyrie who is perhaps the best user of intel in the entire world, especially when there is no IQ on the defense. Once again, another spawn peek from Zion. They're not spawning there again. They said, we remember that from 3 rounds ago. You can miss us with that. So indeed they will, but Velik's right here trying to get another one. But it looks like he's going to back off. There are a lot of players over there. All 4 of the remaining members of Shift North are actually going for this CTV upstairs push instead. Those Valk cameras are not extended that far. And Gugs caught with his pants down behind the computer desk. He's going to go for the swing right here and actually managed to grab it. Sneaks up without being spotted by the drone, and a great pick. If I were Gugs, I would just fall the heck out of there, get back to site, and assist the rest of my team.
Talk about making something out of nothing. And Velix has one onto Devil as well, who tried to come through from stock. Things have gone terribly wrong so far. Zer's hoping this crouch walk through kitchen play will be something. He catches the alibi, looking towards the stairs. The Valkyrie walks right into the crosshair. And so Zer's, despite his team losing their Ashen Therm early, he responds to cut down Gugs, who has been so heavily involved. One of the kill leaders, one of the entry performers for ACME, down for the count. And Shift North, and it looked a little crazy there at the beginning. Certainly had the drones, but not the quick capability to calm for the intel. But it's still going to be a challenge on a bomb site we rarely see.
It's crazy how quickly exactly that Zers was able to bring that back into an even man count for Shift North. Now, they are on the attack. They've lost a lot of time. They've lost a lot of really good utility. That's the problem. In turn, they've traded out the alibi, perhaps some impact grenades and a gun, and the Valkyrie, perhaps a C4. But those cams are still up. Those Geminis are still up. Or not Geminis. The replicators are still up. And you still have to worry about the rest of the utility. These Echo drones are going to be absolutely crucial in stopping this plant. There's so many nooks and crannies in Bar Stage that even if they're able, even if the attackers of Maple and all the rest of his teammates are able to drop through this construction hatch, you know that all the tables, chairs, vending machines, everything inside of Stage right now is poised with at least one Echo camera hidden there somewhere to go for a clutch last-second denial. And with these ace tumbles being muted, oh, how tragic on this stock wall. It's going to be even more difficult to get in and go for a plant.
Just waiting for the grenade roll, and it does get the jammer, but Karatik turns in Maple. 2 versus 3. Still have your Echo up. I don't know if putting Arundel on the front lines is really the good call, but maybe he'll win his gunfights and prove me wrong. Zers, again, this is the second time he's just sort of creeped in here from the kitchen, and he isolates one. Still has another playing from inside Bar. Does not anticipate Karatik to sneak up from the basement and end this round. A defensive victory on Bar and Stuck, the very first here in CCL, and a welcome showing from ACME.
I do have to wonder, as many props as I will give to ACME for winning that site, always a fun one to watch, I have to wonder what would have happened if Gugs had been droned out in CTV, losing a player so early, losing a C4 so early, not getting that opening pick. onto the Ash, who just has so much soft breach to use. I mean, they were using Ace Selmas to open soft hatches later because they lost her. You know, you have to wonder how that round could have gone differently. I think that opening pick definitely swung it in ACME's direction. Of course, they were able to keep those Razor Blooms, those Echo Yokai drones still alive, so even if the defenders had gotten more into sight, perhaps they would have been felled, even if they had gotten that opening pick. But regardless, it's a good thing to think about, but we won't dwell on it for too terribly long because we're going back down to the basement. We've seen an absolute slugfest down here so far. One win for each side, and perhaps this side will prove to be different as we go to it for the third time so far this game.
Church has been a very peculiar game of Clubhouse, and I think the Church objective has been the most standout part of it, with how close it gets, with how just one little play decides things. Just been wild down here so far. But in this next composition, we had a little conversation about the first two times it was tried. Once, it did not have Mira. The second time, she was introduced. And in this third attempt, we get a little bit of a mix of both. No Mira is present, but you don't have the Aruni. Instead, we've also got Valkyrie, who did make it through the ban phase. That was kind of the shocker. And it came because ACME decided to remove Jaeger rather than traditionally fill that understood role of the last team to ban out such a valuable operator like Valk.
Not only is the Valk intel going to be there with those black eye cameras, you got the Melusi Banshees, they've been standard, but newcomer to this site is the Pulse of Zion. That cardiac scanner can see and basically shut down all of the players in Kitchen unless they're quick on their feet and able to vault over those counters in time to avoid his C4s. Almost a double for Gugs. He grabs Maple. Down will go your IQ. 0-5 so far, a rough game for Maple, but at least he's got a good friend like Senpai there to trade him back out. Senpai said, I'm not going to be the opening frag 2 rounds in a row. I'll let my other buddy take care of that. We got Zion below, though. He's watching these angles, just as I was saying, with that cardiac sensor. He's got some holes in the floor as well. He could be very, very pivotal in just how the defense is able to play off of this Kitchen site, especially considering that the hatch has already been popped open.
So for Shift North, a couple things going right, some not so great. The fact you've lost your IQ is going to allow Zion to just be so free with the way that he plays the Pulse. Predicting the possible presence at bot main. Doesn't look like Shift North have quite made it down there yet. We've seen both of these attacks fail or succeed with a execute down from the Kitchen hatch. TK might just look down here and fight the Pulse. In fact, that's what he does. Zion trying to put up some resistance, having no luck in doing so, and Zers could really be what electrifies this round as he lingers on the threshold of the dirt tunnel. And I don't think there's actually someone committed to holding this at the moment. They're more so worried about the main pressure, and here goes Zers. He's allowed to just quickly come in, a plant coming down as well. This one going in one distinct fashion. Shift North are the clear victors. No 1v1 finish, no close thing here in this most recent Church defense.
Look at that line of sight there. Once the Pulse, who foolishly swung onto the Kitchen hatch, once he went down, most of Armory was ceded to the control of the attackers. I mean, you saw Zers walk in from Dirt Tunnel and basically have no kind of resistance at all once he got into the site. There was a player in blue and 2 in Church watching that moto, that main stairway. It was a great fake by Shift North in diverting the attention of ACME. But at the end of the day, they were just able to fall down the Kitchen hatch, push from Dirt Tunnel, and there was almost nobody there to contest them. They were completely caught unawares, and it was a phenomenal finish of a round for Shift North, once again proving their coordination, proving their ability to make strategies on the fly, to adapt to their situation, and to just keep persevering, and that's certainly what they've done so far. It's a 3-2. It's been a very, very close one right now. If Shift North can pull this into a 4-2 on their attacking side, I think they're really set in the driver's seat for their defense.
We have still had literally every objective aside from CCTV. The first half will end without this Eastern objective being played. Gem Bedroom, the only site coming through for the top floor. I wouldn't say Shift North are going to exactly do that on their second half. It could very well depend on how they perform here. And if things, well, you know, it's kind of a difficult reality because Barstock is a site that can work, but only if you've really specifically prepared a strategy for it. And even though this is Shift North's map selection, I even still don't have a guarantee for you that they will attempt that. And now they know where the Vigil is as well. Velik's going to try to hold out here. Should hear the drone. Yep, there we go. So now he understands. He's been discovered. He shoots at nearly every angle that might be covering him, and he does make it back away, not choosing to stay in flight. Smart move. But what I like even better here, Kinder, is the fact, yes, they are actually holding below this time.
Yes, absolutely. They're not just holding below, but they're holding in strip, which I mentioned earlier, so I feel even more special about getting to talk about yet again. I have to give major props to both teams, though. I think both teams played that very well. Karatik was there to assist the Vigil. They also, I believe, had a captain trap in on that door from lockers. So really great setup in strip to try to catch the attackers off guard. The attackers did their work. They did their due droning diligence. Try to say that 5 times really fast. Anyways, they were able to see that Vigil. They saw the white bars. Even though they can't see him, they did a great job of realizing that once he activated that backpack, they were able to figure out that he was in there and get a general idea of where he was and be able to flush him out. But even though that was a great play from both teams, Zers with an even better play. He'll take down Zion, the Mute. He started out so hot in this game, but hasn't found a single kill, I believe, since that opening round, and he'll be silenced and felled yet again here in round 6.
Yeah, I was looking at Zion's scorecard early in the prep phase and thinking, I haven't really said his name, haven't really seen him do anything magnificent since he had impact earlier in the game. TK on the walk-in, worried about that hatch. Should be more focused on this player behind the bar, and as soon as TK turns his focus, it nets him a kill. Unfortunately, Gugs on the trade will get away. But the man advantage is still here for Shift North. They could hit the site right now and take a 4 versus 2, and it would be a great call. That's exactly what happens. Senpai guns down one. You've got a Frost who's locked up inside of logistics. Zers has been down in the meanwhile, but Gugs needs to hurry up. You got to help your teammate here, man. Otherwise, you're just going to be an inkling in this round that's not going to do anything. Plant has been completed a second time here by Devil. ATK Senpai shuts down Gugs. It's only Karatik left, and he does get 1, but not anything furthermore so. Shift North, another round, showing us why they are the team to pick Clubhouse here.
And it's such an unfortunate loss for ACME, not only because it puts them in a 4-2 split on this half, but also because I think they did a really great job with the roam game last round. I commented on the Frost and the Vigilance strip, but then you see the player behind main bar that was taken out by TK. The sledge nearly had TK, really should have killed him. I think the issue there was really just a lack of an ability to find your trigger finger in time. But there was the player on stairs with the cutoff to be able to trade that kill back out. Roamers always work best in tandem. Even when they had the Vigil all the way in strip, they had backup there. They had backup for the player in bar. I was really impressed with that. Unfortunately, they committed too many members off site, so Shift North made the call to push onto site with the Ash, make it a 4v2, get that plant down before the players can rotate back, and it was a really great adaptation and call from Shift North, despite the really, really great plays from ACME on their roam.
We've got Osa here from Gugs, an operator we had a little conversation about on Border, but who so far hadn't been shown for this Clubhouse. Still could get swapped out here for ACME. They have the 6 pick available, or the attacker repick even, but it looks like Gugs is going to lock in on Osa. So we'll have the Corrosion operator come into this composition for ACME. If I'm thinking Osa, I feel like she could be helpful for dirt. She could be, useful. One area that would be great to have some extra cover that often feels like you're alone on an island is bottom main, because you really are, you're swinging or you're in cover. There's not really a mix of both. There's no real good angle that you can peek off there. Having the Osa for that, I could even think up a situation where you could push down Oil Pit Tunnel with her. There could be a lot of different ways to use Osa here.
Absolutely. Oil Pit, I think Dirt Tunnel as well, but I think it's also important to mention how Osa can be so important in a post-plant situation. Basically, once the diffuser goes down, most people playing Siege consistently know that the attackers become defenders and the defenders become attackers. And so having Osa, who can not only have 2 shields at her disposal, but can also move them, rotate them, place them in different locations, you can play off of those so well and establish some great crossfires in order to shut down defenders that are trying so desperately to retake. So I'm very excited to see her usage inside of this game. Even more excited, though, to see how this kitchen push is going to play out. They droned in again. Despite the best efforts of the roam from ACME, they're getting droned out, and now, Mavericks here trying to pre-fire into Logi to scare off that Aruni, who they wisely droned out in kitchen. Great intel work so far from Shift North, and it looks like they're making great headway, getting inside the building and trying to aggress onto the site.
Gugs is going to be the one who tries to take the fight, and wow, look at the snapshot there on the Senpai. Your Aruni is down. Gugs takes a lot of damage for it, but taking a pick against the roam and helping to understand that there's no more players up above will be a nice thing, at least until TK simply walks up the main stairs and he gets rid of the Osa. Not really a challenging fight for a player on such little HP, but that Talon Shield utility that I talked about and you mentioned as well won't even get to come into this round, never even really touching those clear shields. Hatch open now. Probably one of the few things that's gone right here for ACME, who are a little low on time and need some kind of plan that they're going to push forward here, because there is still some utility left. Zer's using one toxic canister earlier in dirt, and since then another. He's only got 10 seconds of denial. There's only 50 though to work with, and still an uncleared mirror window.
These mirror windows are going to be incredibly difficult to get by, but so will be just getting down the hatch. Like you said, you got to use some utility to get down there. Maybe we're going to make it even more difficult. He's going to find that pick onto Karatik. That's your Ayana down. Not sure if she had any frags left. It looks like Zer's right now. Oh, almost gets peeked as he throws the smoke canister out. They're locked out of dirt. They're trapped in kitchen. Blue has not worked out for them so well so far. Really no great way to push, but it looks like they're all going to commit to a hatch drop right here. It is about to be absolute pandemonium. They know that main stairs is locked down too hard with the Aruni Gate and the Mira. This hatch is their best place to play. If Shift North read onto this will be an incredibly easy round. But as I say that, they completely subvert what I was thinking. They just decide to swing down main stairs, and Devil grabs them both. They played completely into the hands of the Devil and into the hands of Maple, and completely just fell away at the end of that round.
Well, sheesh, the last two rounds we see on that church objective decisively for Shift North, and yeah, that call to rotate main, I get it, there's really no easy option. You didn't clear the smoke, you really didn't have a solid grasp of blue, and dropping that kitchen hatch is about as close to suicide as you get in this game, but they rotated. They knew there was a mirror window there. In my opinion, I'd rather drop down a hatch where I at least know there's no, window I can't see through with a vector, highest fire rate in the game, on the other side of it. That's just really not an enviable spot, especially for bottom main as well, where the Mira's just sitting there. She's like, I'm just going to wait for you. I know you're maybe going to come down here eventually. And wow, ACME just kind of giving that one up has led to a decisive upper hand for Shift North, who I remind you, stole out ACME's own pick of border at 7-4, and it's looking like we could have a pretty quick end to the broadcast today on Club.
ACME just not looking super motivated right now. I think there comes a time in every cast where you have to analyze the kill feed. And if you look all across Shift North, most of them are about to crack double digits, are pretty close in kills. They've got 3 that are mostly top fragging, 2 that seem to be playing a bit more support, utility kind of heavy roles. So not bad across the board for them, but then you look at ACME. They've got 1 man with 9 kills, and the rest, nobody has more than 4. In fact, most of them don't even have more than 3. Just incredible differential right here between the kill counts, the kill-death ratios between both of these teams, and certainly that's going to play a very, very big role in an FPS game like Siege. But jumping straight on into the round, we're going to see some great utility play coming out. The Lion Scan timed perfectly with the exothermic charge, and Senpai is just going to go ahead and fall off, not seeing anybody out there that he can grab an early pick onto, especially with Gugs just firing bullet hole after bullet hole through that wall. Oh, he didn't code out the frost mat. You saw the frost was in there. What did you think she was doing over there? She wasn't just sitting there on the phone. She was placing a welcome mat, and that was certainly a welcome for Gugs.
Yeah, I quickly wanted to add on to your point before we get too far ahead of it. I feel as though for Shift North, at least every one of their players has kind of had their moment. Senpai won that clutch on the bottom floor. Devil was very strong when they attacked Jim originally. TK has had some good utility play as well. For ACME, you can't really say that. Zion has been pretty much silent since those earlier rounds, and we mentioned that at least once when we were on Bar Stock, I believe it was. Still quiet, still a player who hasn't really seen much impact, and he is supposed to be one who can step up. It's Velix providing the support in this round. Zur is down. Wamai gone a little earlier than you might have hoped.
Losing those magnets out early is definitely going to be problematic, especially with Jaeger not on the board, and perhaps this is where we can see ACME's ban really come to fruition. With the Wamai down, like I said, not a lot to stop those grenades, and you've got quite a bit of utility to deal with. Frost mats, Thorn Razor Blooms, potentially Vault Cams, though I guess you probably don't use a lot of utility to burn that. But one thing you don't have to worry about Wamai stopping, even if you were on the board, are X-Kairos pellets, and those are going to go ahead, pop the Mira, as well as TK grabbing one on Zion, and the player playing off that bathroom mirror going down. That's Senpai in a D down but not out position right now. The jump out, oh, it's gonna work out somehow. TK, Gugs was looking straight at him, but clearly he was cross-eyed or something, because that kill goes in the favor of Shift North, and quickly this is shifting back in their favor. Now it's suddenly a 2 versus 1, and ACME's taking over, completely back and forth, and it's all on Maple right now to try to win this one out. Plant going down, they've got the yellow ping though. He might be able to get this, but the crossfire is there from Velix, looking through bathroom, using the mirror the wrong way, but it works the right way for him in the end.
Wow, big round there from Velix. Came in early round, mid round, clutched it up despite a bad situation that looked a little grim. Shift North were really doing a lot of weird things there. The quad kill And Shift North certainly not helping themselves with a TK. That doesn't make things any easier. But Ash coming through huge and defining a round for ACME. You never want to let your opponent get onto that series point situation. And ACME do hold on and deny that very thing for one more round. Arundel able to get the plant down. Some utility, some objective play from him as well through that round. And I wanted to mention, you talked about, okay, on that gym site, you didn't have the Jaeger, obviously, because he's banned. ACME didn't even have any grenades, weirdly enough.
Perhaps the Jaeger didn't play in quite as much as I suspected. It looks like this time that might... Oh, no, that's not quite the same case. We do have the Maverick, but of course the man that always subverts Jaeger is Flores, and we're seeing Gugs play that Flores anyway. So even if Jaeger were in play, probably wouldn't be super terrible, or probably wouldn't be super helpful to his team, given that these Flores Rotero drones can sneak their way in, detonate, and destroy anything, regardless of whether it's an ADS or not. Now, they will have to be careful. The mute is on the board, and I'm imagining that the main way they're going to try to get this wall open might be going for a Maverick Sledge push, but that's a little bit dangerous to do onto the CTV walls, since they're right there in the middle of sight, and there's probably going to be some line of sight right there, ready to shoot down whoever walks up with a sledgehammer to a soft wall after the Maverick burns away at it. So perhaps they'll go for some frag grenades, take out the utility, maybe try to get Thermite to do it instead while it's still reinforced. Enough speculation on my part. We're about to see how this goes down, and perhaps see if Zers has any sort of impact from inside of Strip.
Well, I'm sorry to say, our 8-round vacation from the repellent CCTV objective is finally over, as Shift North pick it up for the first time. And they have a bandit in play. I had a little bandit moment in the game last week where ACME were on the offense, and they were dealing with a bandit who, unfortunately, kind of bungled up his trick. It really did not work out. This time, doesn't look like they're going to trick it. They are going to have Senpai sit tucked in the corner. It's a risky move, but he can make a kill happen. If he eventually gets one, I'd be shocked. But down goes Zion. Another round where Zion is just a player completely absent from effective things.
That's why it's so questionable that he's playing on a usual frag, technically flex operator, I suppose you could say, like Sledge, who's just so powerful with frag grenades. Oh, the feet, they're right there! You missed the shots, though, Devil! Oh, you've got to take those! He's going to throw a C4 into Garage and miss onto Velix. It won't matter because he'll actually be taken out by Zers, but Gugs will trade it back out onto TK. An unfortunate miss there for the mute of Devil, but it looks like the defenders are going to keep it in their favor. Maple grabs another one. All of a sudden, it's a 4 versus 1. They lost that Sledge early, and it's just been almost completely downhill since for ACME. Zers puts the bullet in his head, puts him out of his misery, and takes us on to match point.
Zers getting so active from Garage and pretty much put that round in the pocket of Shift. It's match point, series point. One more round from Shift North, and things are done with. They failed to claim victory on the CCTV objective, which is, in some matches, kind of the death knell. Even more so when ACME, their own first half, was pretty unremarkable. Didn't have any notable victories. Had a lot of close rounds, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And I feel like that's been pretty much the motto of CCL so far. We have had close rounds, but we've, at the end of the day, gotten to who is going to be the victor. And it looks like Shift North, unless ACME can mount a comeback. And I will mention, we had this very same situation on Border. It got to 6-3 for ACME. They managed to put one round back. They got it within 2, but ultimately failed to close it out. And to be honest, I think a similar thing is probably pretty likely to say will happen here, especially when Shift North... I mean, last time they went down to the basement, ACME's attack, it kind of sucked.
Kind of sucked, put it lightly, but we'll leave it at that for now. We won't dig into ACME too terribly much, except in their mental department. I think you mentioned that on the last map, this same exact situation occurred. It was a 6-3 in Shift North's favor. ACME put up a single round and then fizzled out and died. It's going to be even more difficult given that they're on the second map now. Shift North already have one map under their belt. They know that it's going to be grueling to take this one back. If they win, they have to go to overtime. Then if they want to win the series, they have to go to another map. Oh, it's just too much trouble. It's almost just easier to let yourself die and fade out right now. But let's hope that they don't do that. They've got to get themselves in the right kind of mentality. They can't let themselves get sloppy or play too terribly loose. They've got to focus down, bunker down, and try to get this round victory here. And it looks like so far, doing a pretty great job of forcing out these roamers and trying to get these lines of sight, these angles these rotations open so they can start making some progress and some headway inside the building. But of course, they're going to have to watch out. I see at least 2 players on the roam right now. One of them is an Aruni who's doing a great job of making rotations for herself, but already she's in a confrontation with Gug, surprisingly. He just kind of snuck on in. He's got the powerful LMG, but it's not powerful enough. The Roni doesn't need a whole lot of bullets to net a headshot, and he'll do just that onto Gugs.
No pints either here from ACME. A failure to lock down this player only just further strengthens what Shift North have, and Senpai, a one-man army. TK comes in on a Karatik as well, and despite the fact that Zion had moved over to that Ying to try to get a more comfortable operator, it really doesn't do him any good. It's likely he'll finish the game at this very same score, especially with Senpai not having been shut down yet. ACME lose another Maple playing the Vert. It's only left Develix, who was a crucial part of their gym attack, the one victory they have to hold on to in the second half so far. But Devil seems to already understand what the totality of the circumstances mean. Velix is last against 5. They've got 3 smoke canisters. They've got a C4. They've got all their guns up. They've got the perfect scenario with the bomb down in a terrible position. Senpai will try to chase him. Velix goes for the prone move here. See if he might be able to finish it up. Nope, he's off target. Senpai with a 3K. Call him the MVP of the match because he certainly delivered above and beyond expectations. It's 2-0. Shift North have finished the series in a pretty quick way.
Absolutely. Shift North showing on both maps, not just how coordinated of a team that they are, but how absolutely stifling their roams can be. And that was yet another example of how ACME just weren't able. They had the intel even. They had the player in sight to execute onto that Aruni who was upstairs. They just couldn't pull it off in time. They weren't able to deal with these roams even when they knew where the players were. So a very noble attempt from ACME there. But yeah, I think the mental sort of started to burn out as well. But that's going to be the ball game. Ladies and gentlemen, Shift North 2-0, a 7-4 on Border and a 7-3 on Clubhouse.
Yeah, I mean, losing Border, I think maybe kind of crushed you a little bit. Border was supposed to be, I mean, Arendelle messaged me before the cast. He was like, I'm really excited we get to go to Border. It's going to be a fun map. They won it last week against Shinigami, but like I said, I think Shift North are clearly the best team in the group. They've certainly got the most talent in the group, and right now they just look better on Border today. They shut down a couple notable opportunities for their opponents to make plays, and they look like a smart team today. I think it's a really important title to attribute them to, and Shift North weren't really the most talked about team coming into this event, but I think they will be a solid playoff contender, which looks almost as a certainty for them right now.
If today is any indicator, I think they certainly will be a playoff contender, and not just a playoff contender, but a championship contender. I haven't seen a lot of the teams in this league, but they put on an absolute clinic today on Clubhouse for the most part. And on Border, again, more of a dark horse map, they did quite the same. A great use of map, great game sense, and just a way to build off of the kills that other members of their team could get. Really, really great. We've said it so much, but I feel like a broken record, but coordination coming out from them. I haven't seen coordination quite that solidified in a long time, but enough of me praising Shift North. GG's once again to both teams, and I think we're just about ready to end the show for today.
Yeah, and I think coordination probably will be something to work on for them in the scrim lobbies. Hopefully they are better prepared for their next playdate that we'll have. But as you say, that wraps up the broadcast for tonight. I'd like to say a big thank you to the team, to Infernosis, who was on the earlier game, to Binks as well for covering that one, to our Observer Nova, to our producer Brandon, to all the folks at Northern Arena and at CCL, and for you, Kinder, coming on the broadcast tonight. You did a great job, and I really enjoyed myself. We're looking forward to more CCL. We'll be back on Wednesday.